Hey everyone, my name is Andy Barninger. I'm here with Myotrend to bring you an awesome recipe. Today we're going to be doing a coconut sriracha chicken nugget recipe. Normally with chicken nuggets, they're covered in a batter or a breading and then they're deep fried. We're going to do something a little bit different today. What we're actually going to do is we're going to still cover them in a coating in a batter. Not really batter, more of a coating, but then we're going to bake them at a high heat. So it's still going to give you that crispness on the outside, but going to be a little bit healthier for you, or actually a lot healthier for you because it's not deep fried in oil. So let's get started. So to begin, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make our breading or a breading station. To start with this, we need a small bowl. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. So I have our tablespoon measure here. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to grab some of our Sriracha seasoning. It's a nice little seasoning I found at the grocery store the other day. But what we're going to do is just grab a 1/4 teaspoon of this. So this is super spicy. So if you've ever had regular Sriracha sauce, it's just like it, super spicy. It's a lot drier though because it is in a powdered form. So we're just going to grab a 1/4 teaspoon of that. Try not to spill it everywhere. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab smoked paprika. So there's regular paprika, which you've probably normally seen on your at a kind of like a family gathering where they sprinkle paprika on deviled eggs. That really doesn't have a taste, but the cool thing about the smoked paprika is it has this nice smoky flavor, which is really going to add to our final product. So we're going to grab another 1/4 teaspoon of this. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to grab some regular kosher salt. And in the recipe below, you'll see that it's a 1/4 teaspoon, but I'm just going to measure this out by hand. So just throw that in there. Set this off to the side. So that's ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is our egg wash. So our egg wash is going to be something super simple. It's 1 large egg. About 2 tablespoons of coconut milk. So I have 4 tablespoons here, about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to use half of it here, and later on when we do our dipping sauce, we're going to use the other half. So first half is going to go there. And next I'm going to grab a fork. So with this fork, I'm just going to whisk this all together. And with a normal egg wash, you would normally use regular milk. But since we're doing it coconut, I'm trying to incorporate as much coconut as possible into this, which is why we used a light coconut milk. And coconut milk normally comes in a can like this. It's something when we open this, basically it's going to have a bunch of liquid sitting on top and a heavy film on the bottom. Basically just mix it all together and it'll re-emulsify and you'll get a thick, almost milky consistency. A little bit thicker than normal cow's milk though. But in a can, you can find it in any grocery store, normally in the Indian or even the Spanish food section, well, more Latino's food section. So we're going to mix that all together. Set that aside, and then we're going to grab our last bowl. Our last bowl is going to have some panko breadcrumb. We're actually going to have half a cup. So grab our half cup measure. That in there, set that off to the side. Next thing is we're going to get some shredded coconut. So with shredded coconut, you can normally get it in really long, fine strands, or this one almost looks like it was chopped up, and you can get it sweetened and unsweetened. Obviously, we don't want to put a lot of sweetness into this savory recipe, so what I did was we grabbed some unsweetened coconut flakes. So with this one, gonna grab some scissors, chop off a little corner there, set that to the side, and with this we're just using 2 tablespoons. So 2 tablespoons in there, set this back here, and we're also going to add another 1/4 teaspoon of the Sriracha seasoning. We did one on the base layer, and now we're gonna do one on the top layer, just to add that little kick in there and have great flavor. So, grab a 1/4 teaspoon of this, dump it in there, and then these are ready to go. So, next thing we're gonna do, we clean up our prep station a little bit, is what I've done here is actually lined a sheet pan with some parchment paper, and we're gonna set that off to the side. We're gonna leave that right there, and we're actually gonna pull this parchment paper up here. And because I forgot, we're actually gonna grab another piece of parchment paper. So after your sheet pan underneath is lined with parchment paper, we're gonna set that off to the side, so it's down there. We have our other sheet of parchment paper here. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our chicken. I have about 3 pounds of chicken here. We're only using 10 ounces for this recipe, so I'm actually gonna grab one of these breasts, onto my cutting board. And in the recipe, you'll see that I say clean. What does it mean by to clean the chicken breast? Well, with any of the chicken breasts, you have a lot of this cartilage and connective tissue kind of hanging off of it. And you also have this like kind of breast piece right here. This breast piece, even though there is a big chunk of meat there, it's covered in connective tissue and a lot of ligaments. Normally chewy, unless you stew it, it's gonna be chewy and you're gonna bite into some really just chewy stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna cut it off and just discard it. So grab a knife, set that to the side, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clean up the rest of this breast. And I'm just removing any of the connective tissue that's sitting on top of it. Once that's clean, we're actually just going to cut this into chicken nugget sized pieces. So as you can see, this chicken breast is super thick. So what we're going to do is, this isn't a necessity to do this. However, I just like doing it because it makes the pieces more even and easier to work with. We're actually going to take our knife and cut down the middle of this chicken breast. So you have 2 relatively same size pieces. And next you're going to cut these into kind of rectangles. So think of, just going to throw McDonald's out there. Their chicken nuggets are they're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, about 1/2 inch thick, and probably about 1 inch wide. So we're going to cut ours into a similar size piece. So to begin, cut them about 1.5 inches wide. So you're gonna have a piece that looks just about like that. Almost a square, almost a rectangle, somewhere in the middle. Set that off to the side. Next, we're gonna prep our next chicken breast. We're gonna grab these, we're actually gonna put them on this side. And you'll see why I'm kind of organizing everything here, just to make it flow easier. So we go from raw to on the sheet pan from earlier and into the oven with as little disruption as possible. To begin our breading process, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our first bowl, the one with the coconut flour, Sriracha seasoning, salt, and smoked paprika in it. We'll make sure everything's nicely whisked together, so it's even. Put that bowl here. And then we have our egg wash bowl here. And then we have our final bowl with the panko, the shredded coconut, and the sriracha. So we're gonna whisk that one together, make sure everything's just evenly distributed throughout that bowl. So next we're gonna grab one of our chicken pieces. We're going to throw it in the coconut flour bowl first. Just nicely toss it in there. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna throw it in the egg wash. Just nicely coat it. And then we're gonna go right into the panko mixture. And there you can kind of just roll it around. So you have a piece that looks like this. Evenly coated, evenly distributed. That's gonna go right on our shoot pan. So we're gonna repeat this until all of our chicken is done, and then we'll move on to the next step. So after all of our chicken is breaded, you can see right there, we're gonna just take it over to the oven, throw it in the 400-degree oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. You may need a little bit longer depending on what type of oven you need, or let's set that timer for 12 minutes. And next we're gonna move on to the sauce we're gonna dip this in. So after we've cleaned up our cutting board, got rid of all of the chicken, put any of the excess chicken back in the refrigerator, we're gonna move on to our next step, which is actually making the sauce for the chicken nuggets. So to do this, it's 3 simple ingredients. So what we're gonna do, grab some Greek yogurt, grab another bowl. We're gonna grab a 1/3 cup measuring cup. Put the Greek yogurt in the bowl. Next thing we're gonna grab is our coconut milk. So this, remember in the beginning we had 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of coconut milk. We used 2 in the egg wash. Now we're gonna use the remaining 2 in our sauce. So in this bowl, pour it in there. And next instead of using Sriracha seasoning, we're actually gonna use regular Sriracha now. So we're gonna take this, and recipe calls for a 1/2 teaspoon. You can actually do this based on how spicy you want it. If you want it really spicy, you can do a full teaspoon. If you want it not very spicy, I would recommend using it a 1/2 or even maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. So basically, that goes in there. Then you just take this and just mix it all together. Make sure it's smooth. The coconut milk should emulsify into the Greek yogurt very nicely, and the Sriracha should emulsify into everything really nicely. So with any sauce, you definitely want to taste it before you serve it. And I use about a 1/2 teaspoon in there of Sriracha. It is very spicy, but it still has that tanginess that the Greek yogurt will give you. So there's a few ways you can get rid of that. You can put something sweet in there. You might be able to put something acidic in there. Maybe a lime would go great in this. Or you could add a little bit more salt. The salt might pull away from that tanginess a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Just throw that in there. And that's our dipping sauce. And since the chicken nuggets are in the oven right now, what we can do is we can actually take this, throw it in the refrigerator, cover it if we'd like, and then when the chicken nuggets are done, we'll pull it out and we can serve it. So timer just went off. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna grab these out of the oven, and then we're gonna plate them. So as you can see, nice and crispy. And you can see that the panko crisped a little bit different than the coconut flakes. So it gives a nice little texture on top of it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this. We're gonna grab our sauce from earlier, and I'm using an oblong plate here, just because it looks cool with the presentation. So place that at one end. Grab our nuggets. So the final plate looks like that. Let's give it a try. So dip this in our sauce. Got a great flavor. It's spicy, but you get that coconut shining through, and it's delicious. A little bit spicier than what I would have liked, so I would probably tone back the spice just a little. It's probably from the dipping sauce though. But all in all, great recipe. I think executed good. It has great presentation. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. My name is Andy Barninger. You can find me at The Performance Chef, and stay tuned for more recipes from Myotrend.